Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're venturing into something pretty unsettling. Two real-life accounts from the hidden room and the watching neighbor.
Right. And these stories really hit home, quite literally. They explore that fear of intrusion, unexpected presences in places you should feel safe.
Exactly. It's about that violation. So we're looking at two scenarios. One involves discovering this locked room, a panic room maybe, but with some really disturbing stuff inside.
And the other is about dealing with a neighbor who goes from just, watching to being actively dangerous.
Yeah. So the mission today really is to unpack these stories, look at the fear they provoke, the violation, and the questions they leave hanging.
Absolutely. That sense of unresolved mystery is key to why they stick with you.
Okay, let's dive into the first one, the locked room. So you've got a couple, they move into this house in rural New Mexico. Seems okay at first.
But there's an early kind of odd sign, isn't there? The basement lights.
Yeah, flickering lights in the basement. And the husband's an electrician, so he knows it's not just faulty wiring or something simple, it's weird.
Not a huge deal on its own, maybe, but definitely sets a bit of an uneasy mood. Kind of foreshadowing.
For sure. Then they find it. Hidden behind a load of junk in the basement, this really heavy metal door.
Which immediately makes you think, okay, this wasn't just forgotten storage. This was deliberately hidden.
Right. And when they ask the previous owners, they just say, oh, we lost the key.
Yeah, lost the key to a heavy metal door in the basement. That sounds, well, it sounds like a lie, doesn't it? Very suspicious.
Totally. So curiosity gets the better of them, obviously. They hire a locksmith.
And what's behind the door is, well, it's chilling.
It really is. There's a cot, like someone was sleeping there, empty food wrappers.
Okay, so someone was living there. Recently, it seems.
Yes, but then it gets stranger. Black and white photos covered in these bizarre symbols. What does that mean?
That adds a whole other layer. Not just hiding, but maybe something ritualistic or just deeply strange.
And the real kicker. There's another door inside this locked room, an exterior door, leading right outside.
So whoever was in there, they weren't trapped. They had their own private entrance and exit.
Exactly. They could come and go without the homeowners having any idea, which means someone was secretly living inside their house.
And the fact it was locked when the new couple found it, it implies maybe they were locked out or left in a hurry.
Well, something definitely happens soon after. After they find the room, they hear a glass shattering, and then footsteps running away outside.
Wow. So it confirms someone was connected to that room and they were still around, maybe watching.
It seems like it. So many questions. Who was it? Why the symbols? Why did they leave? Just disturbing unknowns.
Truly, it completely shatters that feeling of security.
Okay, let's switch gears to the second story, The Watcher. This one's a different kind of unsettling, more external, I guess.
Yes, this focuses on the threat coming from outside the house, from a neighbor. It shows how quickly that neighborly relationship can turn sour or terrifying.
So a guy moves into his first house. Nice neighborhood, except he only has one neighbor really close by. An elderly woman named Priscilla. Seems reclusive.
But reclusive quickly turns into something else. She just stares at him constantly from her yard.
Which is creepy, right? Just unnerving. Maybe you try to ignore it at first, think, oh, she's just lonely or eccentric.
But it keeps happening. Then it escalates. He finds a sock. Just a sock left on his property.
Yeah, a sock. It sounds minor, but in context.
It feels intentional, like she's crossing a boundary, leaving a marker. It goes from passive watching to active intrusion, almost testing him.
Exactly. It's a deliberate little violation. And then the climax. One night, his doorbell rings. Okay, fine. But then it rings again and again.
12 times.
12 times in the middle of the night. That's not just annoying, that's aggressive. Harassment.
Absolutely. So he finally, probably reluctantly, opens the door.
And it's Priscilla. But she's not there for a chat. She lunges at him with a knife.
Whoa, okay, that escalated incredibly quickly.
Right. And she's screaming these incoherent things, something about her son. Just a terrifying attack out of nowhere.
And the police reveal the background later.
Yeah. Turns out Priscilla had actually escaped from a psychiatric facility nearby.
Which, well, it explains the behavior perhaps, but doesn't make the attack itself any less horrifying for him.
Not at all. And you're left wondering, how long was she watching him before that? What was going through her mind? What does she think he was?
That's the chilling part. The unknown intentions. The distorted reality she might have been living in, focused on him.
So, looking at both stories, I mean, thankfully, the people involved survived these encounters.
They survived, yes, but You have to imagine their sense of safety, their idea of home was just permanently damaged, changed forever.
Absolutely. And you're left with these nagging loose ends. Like in the first story, what was the deal with the previous owners in that room? Was it really just a lost key?
Or were they somehow involved or aware? We just don't know. And with Priscilla, was she truly acting alone? How did she escape?
Right. These stories are powerful because they don't give you easy answers. Real life horror often doesn't tie up neatly.
Exactly. Sometimes the fear comes from the lack of explanation, the ambiguity that lingers.
Which brings us to maybe a slightly practical, if grim, piece of advice for you listening. If you move into a house and find a secret, heavy, locked metal door.
Maybe call the police before you call the locksmith.
Yeah, just maybe. Something to think about.
And it leaves you pondering, doesn't it? What unseen things, what hidden aspects exist even in the places we think are most familiar? What might be lurking just beneath the surface?